Imagine if every heartbreak, every failure, every moment you thought was pointless suffering was actually part of a deeper design. What if I told you that in Buddhism, nothing, not a tear, not a setback, not even the worst day of your life, happens by accident? There's a reason behind the chaos, a quiet wisdom behind every pain. As the Buddha once said, your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts. So why does life hurt so much? Why do we keep reliving the same pain? And more importantly, how do we finally stop? This video reveals the truth most people overlook. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You'll never look at pain the same way again. If you take away just one thing today, let it be this. Understanding why everything happens is the first step to healing. Stay until the end. There's a powerful bonus lesson that ties it all together. Number 1. Why pain isn't punishment. 55. What if I told you? Pain isn't here to punish you, but to awaken you. That life isn't against you, but trying, in its own mysterious way, to lead you somewhere deeper. You see, we spend so much time asking, why is this happening to me? But rarely do we ask the more important question, what is this trying to teach me? Pain feels like betrayal, like the world has turned its back on you. But in Buddhism, pain is not your enemy. It's the flame that burns away illusion. Illusions about control, about permanence, about the belief that things should always go our way. And when those illusions are gone, something deeper begins to rise. To understand everything is to forgive everything. These words speak to a truth many ignore. If you could truly see why something happened, every cause, every effect, you would stop fighting life. You would stop blaming yourself. You would forgive not just others, but yourself too. There's a story of a monk who was betrayed by his closest friend. Years of trust shattered overnight. Instead of reacting with anger, he sat in silence for days. People thought he was broken. But when he finally spoke, he said, "The pain didn't destroy me. It revealed the parts of me still clinging to false safety." That's the gift of suffering, its ability to expose, to strip you down, not out of cruelty, but clarity. Pain is the teacher you never invited, but the one you needed all along. Still, we resist, we numb, we distract ourselves with noise. But what if, just for once, you paused, sat with the ache, breathed into the discomfort, named the emotion instead of burying it? What would happen? Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to awaken in me? Because it's not random, it's a message. Maybe it's asking you to set a boundary, to let go, to return home to yourself. We mistake pain for punishment. But more often than not, it's protection, a redirection. Maybe this heartbreak saved you from a lifetime of self-abandonment. Maybe that failure rerouted you to your true purpose. In Buddhist practice, pain is not something to eliminate, it's something to understand. Because once you understand it, you stop fearing it, you stop clinging, you let go. And in that letting go, life finally stops hurting. So next time you feel broken, ask, could this pain be protecting me from something far worse? The answer might not come quickly, but it will come. And when it does, you'll realize you weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Surrender to life's flow and trust its unfolding. Your pain has purpose. It's polishing the edges of your soul. Now ask yourself, is this helping me grow or keeping me stuck? Because the moment you understand why everything happens, life no longer hurts you, it transforms you. 2. Trust the journey even when you don't understand it. Sometimes life goes silent. No answers, no direction, just a fog that won't lift. And in that silence, panic rises. Why is this happening? Why now? What am I supposed to do? You want certainty. You want a map. But Buddhism teaches something radical. You don't need to see the entire path. You just need to take the next step. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. These words hold a deep medicine, not just for your mind, but for your soul, because it's in the present, not the future or the explanation, that life unfolds. And trusting the present moment, especially when you don't understand it, is where your transformation begins. There's an old story of a man who wandered into a dense forest, searching for light. No compass, no guide, just darkness. He could only see a few steps ahead, but with each step, more of the path revealed itself. Eventually, the forest opened to a valley of peace. He didn't arrive there by knowing the way. He arrived by trusting the journey. Life is no different. Sometimes the chaos you're facing is not the absence of order, but a hidden order you haven't grown enough to recognize yet. What feels like a delay might be divine timing. What feels like rejection might be redirection. But you won't see it if you keep clinging to the need to know why. Buddhism invites you to surrender, not in weakness, but in wisdom, to let go of the illusion of control, to stop forcing answers and start listening. What if this confusion has a purpose? What if it's making space for something bigger than you imagined? Instead of demanding clarity, breathe. Sit with the discomfort. Be still. Let go of the fight to understand. The present moment, however ordinary or painful, carries the instruction for your next step. Ask yourself, can I stay open, even when life doesn't explain itself? That's real strength. Not in figuring it all out, but in trusting what's unfolding. Even the detour has dharma. Even the silence has a sacred sound. You're not supposed to have it all figured out right now. That's not a flaw. It's part of the design. And when you stop resisting that truth, something beautiful happens. You start to notice small signs, subtle shifts, the right word at the right time, the breath that grounds you, the moment you feel peace again, even if nothing has changed. The path is often hidden until your next step lights it up. So take that step. Trust that life knows what it's doing, even if you don't. Let the present moment be enough. It's not just where you are, it's where everything begins. You don't need the whole map. You just need the courage to walk by light you cannot see. 3. When you stop asking, why me? There comes a moment in every difficult season when you find yourself asking, why me? It slips out in whispers or screams. It's the voice of exhaustion, of unfairness, of a heart that feels bruised by life. But what if that question is keeping you trapped? What if the pain isn't personal, but purposeful? Buddhism teaches us that rain falls on all roofs, but only some choose to grow gardens from it. The ego clings to the idea that life is happening to you, but awareness shifts the question from why me to what now. That's where transformation begins, not in blame, but in curiosity. It is your reaction to adversity, not the adversity itself, that determines your path. Let that sink in. Because you're not defined by what happened, you're shaped by how you meet it. Some people get buried by struggle, others rise through it. Not because they had easier lives, but because they learned how to look within instead of looking for someone to blame. There's a story of a young woman who lost everything she thought gave her identity, her job, her relationship, her sense of direction. For months she spiraled, drowning in the same question, why me? Until one day she sat in stillness and a new question arrived. What is this moment calling forth in me? It wasn't an answer, it was an invitation. and that changed everything. She started writing again, connecting with people she had forgotten, planting seeds of a life not built from the past, but from presence. When we stop resisting life's storms and start observing them, something beautiful happens. We stop identifying with the pain and start learning from it. That's the quiet shift Buddhism offers. Not a promise of a life without pain, but a new relationship with it. Reframe hardship as an awakening, not a punishment. What if this discomfort is your soul's way of shaking you awake? What if it's trying to show you a deeper strength, a truer path, a version of yourself that only adversity could unlock? Suffering doesn't isolate you, it connects you to the quiet courage of others who felt lost too, to the shared human experience that binds us all. You're not alone in your pain, and the more you understand that, the less life hurts. Ask yourself, what am I learning right now that comfort could never teach me? Sometimes the greatest blessings come wrapped in confusion. Sometimes the gift is not what you get, but who you become. Can you bless the lesson before you understand it? Can you trust the process even when the purpose is hidden? Because when you stop asking, why me, you stop fighting life, and you start co-creating with it. Pain becomes purpose, wounds become wisdom, and your story becomes your strength. You were never being punished, you were being prepared. 4. Why struggle comes before strength. You keep asking, when will it get easier? But what if that's not the right question? What if the truth is, it's supposed to be hard before it gets beautiful? The struggle you're in isn't a detour, it's the path. And the pain, it's not blocking your growth, it is your growth. Buddhist wisdom reminds us, no mud, no lotus. The lotus flower, the symbol of purity and awakening, doesn't bloom in clear water. It rises through thick, dark mud. And so do you. Struggle is not the opposite of progress. It's progress wearing a disguise. You're not broken because you're overwhelmed. You're not failing because you're exhausted. What you're feeling might just be the discomfort of outgrowing what no longer fits your soul. The friction before flight. Like in meditation, where the greatest restlessness often comes right before peace. The resistance doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're getting closer. Think about the times that truly changed you. Were they easy, or were they forged in the fire of uncertainty, heartache, and surrender? Those moments stripped away what was false and left you with something real. Because struggle sharpens clarity. It burns away distractions and forces you to face your truth. There's a story of a man who sat alone in silent retreat for 10 days. By day 3, he felt like quitting. His body ached, his mind screamed, everything in him wanted to escape. But he stayed, and on day 6, something broke open, not outside but within. A calm he had never known arrived, not because the pain stopped, but because he stopped resisting it. That's what happens when you stop fighting the mud. You begin to rise. What if your emotional storm isn't a punishment, but a purification? A clearing of what no longer serves your future. Each struggle, each tear, each setback, it's not taking from you, it's shaping you. It's preparing you for a version of yourself you can't yet see. So the next time you're buried in confusion or drowning in self-doubt, ask yourself, what part of me is being strengthened right now? Maybe it's your patience, your boundaries, your compassion. Maybe it's your ability to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. Don't curse the mud, bless it. Because it's not your enemy, it's your environment for growth. You're not stuck, you're sprouting. And when life feels heavy, remember this. A lotus doesn't fight the mud, it rises through it. You're in the middle of becoming, and that's never easy, but it's always worth it. So don't give up now. The deeper the struggle, the brighter the bloom. You're not being buried, you're being planted. 5. Why meaning isn't found, it's made. You've been searching for meaning like it's a missing piece, buried somewhere in a job, a relationship, or a perfect moment waiting to arrive. But what if meaning isn't something you find? What if it's something you make, moment by moment, choice by choice? In Buddhism, there's a deep truth. Your work is to discover your world, and then with all your heart, give yourself to it. Meaning isn't handed to you. It's something you plant, water, and grow through presence and intention. Think of it like a garden. No one stumbles upon a flourishing garden by accident. It takes effort, commitment, care. Meaning is the same. It's not hidden in some distant future. It's built right here, in how you treat others, in how you show up, even when you're tired, in the quiet ways you respond to your own suffering with compassion instead of bitterness. You may think your days are mundane. Wake up, work, eat, sleep, repeat. But through the Buddhist lens of mindfulness, even the smallest acts hold spiritual weight. When you wash a dish, you're not just cleaning, you're practicing presence. When you listen deeply to someone, you're offering love in a noisy world. Every breath, every step becomes an opportunity to embody meaning, not wait for it. There's a story of a monk who spent years sweeping temple floors. One day, a visitor asked him if he was tired of doing the same chore daily. The monk smiled and said, "I don't sweep for the temple, I sweep to clear my mind." What was ordinary to others became extraordinary through awareness. That's the power of intention. You create meaning through how you meet life, not what life gives you. Too many of us wait for purpose to reveal itself, for passion to strike like lightning. But Buddhism doesn't teach you to wait. It teaches you to engage, to bring your full attention to each moment and allow that presence to transform the ordinary into sacred. Struggle doesn't cancel meaning. It clarifies it. When life breaks you open, you have a choice: to turn pain into a reason to disconnect, or to use it as fuel to connect more deeply with yourself, with others, with this fragile, beautiful life. Ask yourself, what meaning am I creating from this struggle? Are you planting seeds of bitterness or resilience? Are you using your experiences to grow compassion or to harden your heart? Meaning isn't out there, waiting. It's in here, unfolding in the way you choose to live each day. You are the gardener. And even if life has handed you rocky soil, you still hold the power to plant purpose. So stop waiting for meaning to arrive like a package at your door. Choose to bring meaning into every corner of your day, because in the end, it's not about what life gave you. It's about what you gave life with all your heart. 6. Why acceptance is the beginning of freedom. You're tired, not just in your body, but in your soul. Tired of holding on, fixing, controlling, resisting. You've tried to push the river of life in a direction it refuses to flow. But what if the struggle isn't with life, but with your refusal to accept it? Buddhism teaches that suffering isn't born from pain. It's born from resistance to pain, from clinging to how things should be instead of allowing them to be as they are. As the Buddha said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Imagine a river. You're in it, clinging to a branch stuck in the mud because the current feels uncertain. You're exhausted, not because the river is cruel, but because you keep fighting its direction. Acceptance is letting go of that branch, not because you've given up, but because you finally trusted that the river knows the way. Acceptance is not weakness. It's not passivity. It's the beginning of freedom. It's the moment you stop wasting energy resisting reality and start investing it in peace. Ask yourself honestly, What am I refusing to accept that's already here? Maybe it's the end of a relationship, a truth about yourself, a situation that didn't go as planned. And in your refusal, you've been at war with reality, fighting an opponent that doesn't even fight back. In Buddhist practice, we learn that freedom doesn't come when the world changes. It comes when your relationship with the world changes. Acceptance softens suffering. It allows space for clarity, healing, and presence. When you stop clinging to what should be, you finally make room for what can be. There's a story of a man who approached a Zen master, overwhelmed by loss and disappointment. He asked, "How do I fix this pain?" The master simply replied, "Let it be." The man was confused. Wasn't healing supposed to be active, forceful, deliberate? But over time, as he stopped resisting the sadness and allowed it to move through him, something opened. Not happiness, but peace. Not answers, but understanding. Acceptance doesn't change the situation. It changes you. It invites you to stop fighting against the moment and start listening to it. It helps you move from "Why is this happening to me?" to "What is this trying to teach me?" From clenching to softening, from control to trust. Ask yourself now, where am I holding tension against what simply is? What would soften if I surrendered the fight? You might find that the freedom you've been chasing isn't somewhere far away. It's right beneath the resistance you've been gripping with white knuckles. Let go, not to fall, but to float. Because the moment you stop fighting the river is the moment it starts carrying you. You are not meant to wrestle life into perfection. You are meant to flow with it, present, awake, and free. 7. You don't need to understand, only to awaken. We spend so much of life trying to make sense of it. We ask, "Why did this happen?" Or, "What does it mean?" As if peace is a puzzle we can solve with enough thinking. But Buddhism doesn't ask us to understand everything. It asks us to awaken, to open our eyes, not to answers, but to truth. Awakening is not changing who you are, but discarding who you are not. And the truth is, not everything in life can be explained, but it can still be lived. It can still be beautiful. A candle doesn't understand fire. It doesn't know where the flame comes from or why it dances the way it does. But it still shines. That's you. You don't have to figure it all out to radiate peace, to be kind, to grow. The mind craves certainty. The soul craves presence. One leads you in circles, the other leads you home. There's a quiet power in not needing to know. In Buddhism, this is called beginner's mind, meeting life not with rigid conclusions, but with humble curiosity. When you stop trying to solve every emotion, you begin to see them. You notice how pain rises and falls. You observe thoughts without becoming them. That's awakening, not a dramatic moment, but a slow unlayering, a remembering. Some of the most powerful growth happens in silence, in mystery, in the gentle whisper of "I don't know." And that's okay. Maybe the closure you're chasing is not necessary. Maybe the apology never given, the answer never found, the reason never explained. Maybe they're not missing pieces. Maybe they're just parts of the whole. Because closure is a human invention. Completion is a state of mind. There's a story of a monk who asked his teacher, "Master, what is enlightenment?" The master responded, "When hungry, eat. When tired, sleep." It wasn't a riddle, it was a reminder. Awakening doesn't require complexity. It requires presence. And presence doesn't demand understanding. It demands surrender. Ask yourself, can I be at peace without having all the answers? Can I let the mystery live beside the clarity? The truth is, the more you awaken, the less you need to know. You stop asking louder questions. You start asking better ones. What is this teaching me? How can I respond with love? Can I find peace right now, even in the unknown? Maybe peace isn't hidden in the answers. Maybe it's been quietly waiting in the space between them, in your breath, in your stillness. In the moment you stop trying to fix life and begin to feel it. You don't need to understand fire to give light. You just need to burn with presence. And when you do, the light you share, without needing to know how, becomes the very spark that awakens others. 8. Everything you lose makes space for what you need. We often see loss as something cruel, something unfair, as if life is taking from us without reason. But Buddhism offers a quieter truth. Everything you lose creates space for something deeper, something truer. Just like a tree must shed its leaves to survive the winter and strengthen its roots, we too must sometimes let go to grow. The pain of loss is real, but the purpose behind it may be invisible, at least for a while. Let go or be dragged. These 5 words capture the essence of emotional liberation. You weren't meant to carry everything forever. That relationship, that plan, that version of you, it served a purpose, and then its time passed. Still, we cling, because familiarity feels safer than emptiness. But clinging doesn't protect you. It only delays your healing. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. The wisdom to trust that life never takes without giving something in return. The return may not look like what you imagined, but it always moves you toward your truth, if you're willing to stop resisting and start receiving. Buddhist teachings remind us that impermanence is not the enemy, it's the path. When we meditate, we watch thoughts rise and fall, breath enter and leave. We're practicing letting go with every inhale and exhale. That same rhythm applies to everything: people, jobs, seasons, even identities. We don't meditate to escape reality, we meditate to hold it more lightly, to find stillness within change. And it's in that stillness that new insight quietly blooms, the kind you'd never find if your hands were still full of yesterday. Sometimes what we call loss is actually redirection, a closed door that would have led you further from yourself, a breakup that left space for self-love to grow, a failure that became the soil for clarity. Grief doesn't disappear, but it softens when you stop asking why it came and start asking what it's making room for. What am I being asked to release so something greater can grow? Ask yourself that, not once, but again and again, until the question itself becomes a form of peace. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means blessing the past for what it gave you, and releasing it for what it can no longer offer. It means trusting that the emptiness you feel now is actually the beginning of alignment. Because when your hands are empty, you're finally able to receive what was meant for you. Not what you forced, not what you feared to lose, but what fits who you're becoming. So allow yourself to shed, gently, fully. Create space, even if it feels like sadness at first. Because space is not emptiness, it is preparation. And the more you allow life to shape you, not through control, but through surrender, the more you'll see that loss was never the end. It was the invitation, an invitation to grow deeper roots. So one day, you can bloom again. 9. Stop resisting change. It's the doorway to growth. Change feels like loss when we resist it. But what if it's not loss at all? What if it's the shedding of a skin that no longer fits? In Buddhism, change isn't the enemy. It's the nature of life. All conditioned things are impermanent. Work out your liberation with diligence. That means the moment you try to freeze life, you begin to suffer. Growth cannot occur in a vacuum. The very things you're clinging to may be the ones keeping you stuck, You can't step into a new river if you're still gripping the shore. We often fear change because it threatens the version of ourselves we've grown used to. Titles, relationships, routines, they make us feel secure. But Buddhism invites us into deeper truths. It reminds us that identity is fluid, not fixed. Just like the breath comes and goes, so do our roles, preferences, even our beliefs. Non-attachment doesn't mean apathy. It means freedom. When you're no longer trying to preserve a version of yourself that life is trying to evolve, you begin to feel peace. You begin to feel flow. Ask yourself, what are you resisting because it doesn't match who you used to be? That job you've outgrown, that relationship that no longer reflects your values, that habit that numbs rather than nurtures. The fear isn't really about the change, it's about losing control. But Buddhism teaches that control is an illusion. When you let go, you don't fall apart, you begin to unfold. Just like a flower, you don't force your petals open. You align with the sun and let nature do its work. Consider the metaphor of a river. It never clings to the water that just passed. It doesn't pause to mourn the rocks or hold onto the bends. It just flows. And in that flow, it carves canyons, nourishes lands, and shapes landscapes. That's the kind of power change holds. If you trust it, if you surrender to it. Even the chaos has intelligence. Even the detour is direction. Transformation doesn't require you to understand every step. It only asks for your willingness to participate. The caterpillar doesn't resist the cocoon. It surrenders to it, not knowing that flight is on the other side. So why do we cling so hard to what no longer serves us? What would happen if you stopped identifying with your past and started embodying your truth? You are not your job. You are not your mistakes. You are not even your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And awareness doesn't fear change. It welcomes it. Release the narrative that you're being undone. You're being remade. Growth isn't comfortable, but it is sacred. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet shift, a subtle release, a deeper breath. But every time you allow change without resistance, you step closer to your liberation. You stop living in fear of the unknown and start dancing with it. Because once you realize life isn't happening to you, it's unfolding for you. That's when it stops hurting. That's when you begin to grow. 10. Your response is more powerful than the event. The fire is the same for everyone. It can either melt wax or harden clay. How the heat affects you isn't determined by the fire itself, but by how you choose to respond to it. It is not what happens to you, but how you respond that matters. Life will always throw challenges your way, some small, some monumental, but the true test is in your response. Buddhism teaches us that every moment offers a choice, to react emotionally or to respond mindfully. When we react, we're often driven by past conditioning, by our egos and our fears. But when we respond with awareness, we invite wisdom into the moment. Consider this. Every time something triggers you, you have a choice. You can either let the external event define your emotional state, or you can pause, breathe, and decide how to engage with it. The mind, when trained, doesn't react impulsively. It observes, it questions, and it chooses. In Buddhism, this is mindfulness in practice, the ability to hold space between stimulus and reaction. That space is where your power lies. In that gap, you can choose to align with your higher self rather than with your fleeting emotions. Ask yourself, what part of me is reacting, my ego or my awareness? The ego wants to defend, attack, or flee. It's attached to outcomes, to how things should be. But your awareness, your true self, is more open. It's more fluid. It understands that reactions are temporary. but your response can create lasting change. Mindfulness teaches us that instead of acting out of anger or fear, we can step back, look at the situation with clarity, and respond with presence. Think of a time when something unexpected or painful happened. How did you react? Did you let the event control your emotions? Or did you take a moment to breathe, reflect, and choose your response? When we allow ourselves to pause, we create space for a different outcome. A stressful moment doesn't have to spiral into an emotional storm. A harsh word doesn't have to define your entire day. Instead of letting external circumstances dictate your inner peace, choose to stay grounded in awareness. This is where true empowerment lies, not in avoiding challenges, but in how we meet them. Buddhism doesn't promise a life without pain, but it does offer a way to navigate suffering with grace and clarity. It teaches that your response is more powerful than the event itself. The situation may remain the same, but your perspective, your peace, your reaction can shift entirely. The fire might still burn, but you can choose whether it melts you or strengthens you. When you react from a place of pain or ego, you give away your power. But when you respond from a place of awareness and presence, you take it back. Life's challenges will always come, but with mindfulness, you don't have to let them dictate your state of mind. What would it look like to choose awareness over anger, peace over panic? Every moment is an opportunity to make that choice, and every time you do, you step closer to the life you were meant to live. A life where you're not defined by what happens to you, but by how you choose to respond. 11. Growth often disguises itself as chaos. Life has a way of testing us. Just when we think we've reached solid ground, something unexpected shakes our foundation. Chaos often feels like the opposite of growth. We want things to make sense, to follow a clear path, but sometimes the path is hidden behind the storm. Chaos is inherent in all compounded things. Strive on with diligence. In Buddhism, we learn that suffering doesn't always break us. It can actually break the illusions we hold about ourselves and the world around us. What if the chaos you're experiencing right now is a catalyst for transformation? Think of an archer pulling the bowstring back. The tension and backward motion seem counterproductive, almost as if the arrow will never fly. Yet, without that pull, the arrow cannot reach its target. Growth, in the same way, often feels like we're being pulled back, tested, and stretched. But that tension is necessary. It's part of the process. Before clarity can strike, chaos must clear the way. This is the Nova effect. Breakdowns that appear to be destructive often create space for something greater to emerge. When we're caught in the middle of turmoil, it's easy to see it as a setback, a personal failure. But Buddhist wisdom invites us to shift our perspective. Setbacks are recalibrations, not punishments. They are moments that realign us with our true purpose, reminding us that the path we're walking is not always the one we envisioned. The discomfort is often the first sign of something new, something better, taking shape. The key is to practice stillness in the midst of the storm. When everything seems to be falling apart, it's easy to panic, to resist, to fight. But resistance only keeps us stuck. Clarity always follows surrender. When we allow ourselves to simply be with the chaos without judgment or fear, we open the door to insight. The universe has its own rhythm, and sometimes we must trust it, even when it doesn't make sense. Have you ever experienced a breakdown that later turned out to be the breakthrough you needed? Maybe it was a moment of failure that led to a fresh perspective, or a loss that opened the door to a new chapter. What if this breakdown, this moment of confusion, is actually your breakthrough in disguise? Instead of running from the chaos, What if you could breathe into it, knowing that it's part of your growth? Life doesn't always offer us smooth roads. Sometimes it hands us a maze. But the key is to keep going, to strive with diligence, even when the way forward isn't clear. In Buddhism, suffering is seen as a teacher, not a foe. The moments of chaos we face are not signs that we are failing. They are invitations to awaken. Your growth is unfolding right now, often in ways you cannot yet see. The discomfort you feel may be pulling you back, but it's also launching you forward. Keep breathing. Trust that even in the darkest moments, clarity is waiting to break through. Embrace the storm, for it is preparing you for the most powerful chapter of your journey. Bonus lesson. Every moment is your teacher. There are moments in life when everything feels overwhelming, when the weight of the world seems too heavy to carry. We wonder why things are happening the way they are, why we face challenges that seem insurmountable. But what if, instead of seeing these moments as burdens, we began to see them as teachers? What if every moment, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, was guiding us toward growth and wisdom? Buddhism teaches us that every moment holds a lesson. Each morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. This profound truth reminds us that every new day offers us a fresh opportunity to learn, to evolve, and to embrace the present moment. It's easy to get caught in the cycle of questioning, asking, "Why is this happening to me?" But what if the real question we should be asking is, "What can I learn from this?" In each encounter, in every bit of pain, in every silence, life is speaking to us. The universe whispers its lessons through the wind, the pain, and even in the ordinary moments that we often overlook. Imagine for a moment that you are walking through your day with the awareness that each moment is sacred. The sound of your footsteps, the fleeting thought you have while sipping your coffee, the challenge you face at work. Each of these is a lesson, a message from the universe. We often wait for a grand revelation, a dramatic shift, but the truth is that lessons are unfolding right in front of us, quietly, patiently. Insight doesn't always come with a loud voice. It often hides in the unnoticed. When life feels overwhelming, it's tempting to wish for a sign, something clear and unmistakable that tells us exactly what to do next. But perhaps the sign we're waiting for is already here. Perhaps it's in the moment of silence when you pause to breathe. Perhaps it's in the pain you're currently facing, which is challenging you to grow. The difficulty is not here to break you. It is here to shape you, to refine you, to teach you something you couldn't learn in the calm. Buddhism teaches mindfulness, not just in moments of crisis, but in every ordinary act of life. Meditate on the day as a mirror of your inner state. What is this moment revealing about who you are, about what you need to learn, about where you're being called to grow? Instead of resisting, instead of wishing things were different, lean into the present moment. Embrace it as it is, with its imperfections and challenges, knowing that within it lies a lesson meant just for you. Are you waiting for a grand epiphany? Or can you recognize that the lesson is already in front of you, in the simple things? Can you treat this moment with reverence, as if it holds the key to your next step? Life isn't always about waiting for the perfect opportunity. It's about making every moment an opportunity for growth. This moment is your teacher if you're willing to learn. In the end, the pain, the struggles, and the quiet moments are all part of the same fabric of life. They are the threads that weave the tapestry of who we are becoming. When we understand that every moment has a purpose, when we embrace each moment as a lesson, life no longer feels like something happening to us. It becomes something we are actively participating in, learning from, and evolving with. Quick summary of the principles. Why pain isn't punishment. Pain is not something to fear, it's a signal of growth. Buddhism teaches that suffering isn't a sign of failure, but a teacher of inner strength. When we stop resisting it and start listening, pain refines us into stronger, wiser beings. Trust the journey, even when you don't understand it. We don't need to understand every twist in our path to move forward. Trusting the process allows peace to replace panic. Faith in the unseen brings calm in chaos, even when clarity is nowhere in sight. When you stop asking, "Why me?" dropping the victim mindset unlocks inner power. Instead of asking why something happened to you, ask what it's trying to teach you. This shift opens the door to emotional freedom and wisdom. Why struggle comes before strength. Before transformation comes resistance. Challenges are not barriers, but bridges to inner power. Struggle teaches discipline, compassion, and mental resilience. It is the path, not the detour. Why meaning isn't found, it's made. Meaning doesn't arrive on its own. It's created by how you respond to life. Purpose is built through mindful living and intentional action. Even the smallest act, when done with awareness, becomes sacred. Why acceptance is the beginning of freedom. The more we resist, the more we suffer. Acceptance doesn't mean you approve of everything, but that you stop fighting reality. Through acceptance, we reclaim energy and discover peace in what is. You don't need to understand, only to awaken. Not everything is meant to be solved. Some things are meant to be seen. Awakening isn't about figuring life out, but about becoming fully present. Let go of the need for answers and find stillness in awareness. Everything you lose makes space for what you need. Loss often clears the way for alignment. When something leaves your life, it may be creating space for something more truthful. Don't chase what's gone. Honor what's becoming. Stop resisting change. It's the doorway to growth. Change is not the enemy. It's the evolution of your being. In Buddhism, impermanence is the essence of life. Embrace change as a spiritual discipline and a sign of renewal, not instability. Your response is more powerful than the event. We can't always control what happens, but we can control how we respond. Mindful responses protect your energy and elevate your awareness. In every event lies the chance to practice presence and power. Growth often disguises itself as chaos. What feels like collapse is often transformation in progress. Life may fall apart before it comes together. Chaos is not the end. It's the rearrangement of your destiny. Every moment is your teacher. Life teaches through both joy and discomfort. Every moment offers insight if you pay attention. Mastery comes from seeing the divine in the daily and the lesson in the ordinary. Life doesn't owe you answers, but it offers you moments. And in each moment lies the power to transform, awaken, and choose again. Taking control of your life isn't about overpowering external events. It's about mastering your internal responses. True strength is quiet. It doesn't scream control. It whispers clarity. Pain, loss, confusion, and chaos are not curses. They are sacred signposts that push you inward to the source of peace that doesn't depend on conditions. The Buddhist path invites you to let go of the illusion that life must always make sense and instead become one with the flow. You are not here to understand the whole picture. You are here to become it. Zen teaches us that the obstacle is not in your way. It is the way. When life feels out of control, don't tighten your grip. Breathe deeper. Sit longer. Watch more gently. The universe is not trying to break you. It's trying to strip away all that isn't really you. Remember, Everything you're experiencing now is shaping who you are becoming. Don't rush through this. Every unanswered question, every heartbreak, every silence is sacred. The truth is, you were never lost, only unfolding. When the mind is still, the universe surrenders its wisdom. Take control by letting go. Embrace the lesson. Trust the path. Awaken fully. Like and share this video if it spoke to your soul. Drop your thoughts in the comment box. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more inspiring Buddhist insights on living a peaceful, powerful life.